Predictable podcasts. Predictable podcasts. There's a million of them out there, babbling about the same old boring stuff. But trust me, my friend, this is not one of them. This is Diary of a Bald Man. He's bald, and he's completely off his damn rocker, and I love that about him. Safety, dinosaurs, relationships, the many uses of a can of Raid in the bedroom. Hold on. Did I read that right? What the f*** happened there? All right. Let's do this. Welcome to Diary of a Bald Man. Now your host, the cue ball himself, Alan Wooford.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us on today's episode. This is Alan Wooford and you're listening to Diary of a Bald Man. So I've got an interesting one for you. In previous recordings, we've had Chance Roberts, we've had others that came onto the show, that are involved with safety, that have written books, that have done things as a manner of communication. And today's guest is actually going to go a step above what most of the others have done. Dylan is actually getting ready to start his own podcast called the Morse Code, which it's already started. He's just getting the shows up. I mentioned it in a previous episode, but I actually had people calling up and asking me about it and how to get to it. And so without further ado, the new guest, the rising star, not only in the safety field, but in the series of podcasts, Mr. Jaykob Dylan Morse. Jaykob, do you prefer to go by Jaykob on the show? You want to go by Dylan? You want me to call you Big Daddy? What would you like to go by?
I actually go by all those. When I'm in trouble, it's Jaykob. If I'm getting arrested, it's Jaykob. And then when my wife is being nice, it's usually Big Daddy. So, I guess we can just go by Dylan for today.
Okay, Your Majesty. We'll just try and stick with the script. So, Dylan, for those that don't know you, again, I mentioned your podcast on the last show, and it's going to be coming up in more and more areas. Would you let our subscribers and listeners all over Nashville, Knoxville, Tennessee, Washington, Japan, and Europe, South Pacific, let them know where you're joining the show from today?
I'm joining from a little town outside of Nashville, just on the other side of Murfreesboro, Tennessee, called McMinnville. Got a small farm and 5 acres here with my wife, just living life the best we can.
Wow, 5 acres. And now, how long have you guys been in that area?
We moved to Murfreesboro about a year ago, and we just bought this house in March. We completely remodeled it and building it up.
Now, was this on purpose? I mean, did you guys move there because of, family? Was it job-related? You have restraining orders in other areas? What brought you to McMinnville?
Well, for non-disclosure agreements and all those purposes, I'm going to say it was job-related. I got a job offer up here that I worked with and did a lot of good for them. And now I'm on my own. I started a safety company a couple years ago that I'm growing, got lots of clients. It's the Safety Standard. We do a lot of consulting, teaching, different things like that. And then helping out on a job site over here in Gallatin, Tennessee.
And for those, again, that, where Jaykob Dylan Morse, His Majesty, is joining us today. To get more information about the services that he offers, look him up on LinkedIn. And does your company have a website as well?
We do have a website. It should be back up in the next week or so. Had some design flaws, so getting that all fixed out, and it'll be back live.
Okay. And Dylan, I appreciate that. So what brought you, originally into the safety field? Because you have a very diverse background, for anybody that, again, if you're listening to this, look him up on LinkedIn. He previously worked in Alabama as a firefighter, as a EMT, worked in the hospital. So, Dylan, could you give us some of the background prior to you coming into Tennessee?
Absolutely. I've always had that desire to help people. It's kind of the cliche answer, but I really did a lot of personal things. Spent about a little over 2 years with my mom in the hospital. She had
I'm sorry to hear that.
She had 2 strokes and 3 open heart surgeries before she was even 40, and that really opened my eyes to the medical field. I started when I was 16 in a Fire Explorer program in Pelham, Alabama, and then once I was old enough and I had moved to another town, I started as a volunteer firefighter with a Warrior Fire Department. Got my EMT at Wallace State. Would volunteer at the fire department, go work at the hospital, work at the ambulance over in Bessemer, Shoals Ambulance, then was just always working. My wife's parents, they lived down in Gulf Shores, Alabama, so we moved down there for a while, worked at a couple hospitals and ambulance services there. And if she's not listening, my wife, she likes to spend money like most of them do. And,
God.
Life
Amazon
changes.
Or local? Does she
Everywhere.
do local?
Local mostly, but Amazon if she gets the chance.
Okay, God bless her. Yeah, keep
Lord.
those people working.
I know she does, and so there's not a whole ton of money in it. Looking for life changes, was working 72 hours at a time plus straight, and so found out about safety with a company Dematic. 2 of my uncles work over there, and they got me on. Started as an electrician helper, and found out about safety and OSHA and all that good stuff, and was able to fit my background directly into it with no problems. There was a little bit of a learning curve, but was able to do it. Traveled the country with them, building Amazons all over, and then got tired of traveling all the time. Started my own safety company, did some aerospace consulting with a company, and then here we are in Nashville.
Damn, that is good. So let me ask you this. We're from my previous medical experience and not having been a firefighter, but in law enforcement, I'm going to give you a hypothetical situation. Do you mind?
Absolutely not.
Okay, let's say you arrive on scene. You guys make entry. The house is secure. There's a guy laying on the floor with a priapism and $400 in his hand. What would be your first thing to do? I'll tell you mine would be to kick the shit out of him and take his money. He's got priapism. There's nothing I'm going to be able to do for him. But as a professional, what would you do?
That's a hard one.
Well, of course, it's a priapism.
Hey, that took me a minute to think of that one.
So, brother, and all joking aside, did you find that your transition into the safety field, having prior experience as an EMT and firefighter, did you find that to be a great thing as a transition? Because in the event that somebody did fall, falls being leading cause of injuries in both construction and general industry, was that a help for you for other EMTs and medics are thinking, maybe I should go into safety? Or is it just an add-on that you could add to your safety experiences?
It was a mix of both. You have that other side of the picture. You know what happens when these injuries happen, so the causes and the outcomes. So you're able to share that with the teams, whether it's through your safety training, toolbox talks, or just, bullshitting around. You're able to say, hey, look, I've dealt with this, or show pictures, different things like that. And it really shows a different side of if we don't have the proper fall protection, if we don't have this is what's going to happen. Whereas somebody that maybe they just came out of college or they've been in safety for a long time, they haven't had any serious injuries, they may not understand that. That's not to say they're not doing a good job, but when you see that other side, you have a better understanding of the importance. And, in my safety career over the last several years, I have only really had to use my EMT skills a couple times with personal medical, allergic reaction. And then
Same here.
We had one guy that, so you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Doing the same thing over and over. He got his finger caught up in a gantry crane hoist, and he took the end of it off. So, I had to use that with some bleeding control and things like that. Well, besides
Jesus Christ, and then you had to report it to OSHA and do a log. I hope you kicked the crap out of him.
Oh, yeah, it was. Hopefully that was a rough one.
Yeah.
Luckily, now I will say, this is something I always tell when I talk to new clients. Throughout that OSHA investigation, of course, they came to site. We were in Michigan, of all places, and 0 fines, 0 incidents, except for a guy losing.
Yes. And do you know if he still stayed on the job or did he come back later?
No, he actually he was out for a good long while, and then I think he left. He decided to leave the company.
Okay. Well, I mean, he left a piece of him behind, so they still had him if you think about it.
They still have
And
him.
you know, and that was it's you and I can joke on things, and so can other safety and other workers that have seen stuff happen. But where I was a medic prior, both it going into safety and had the experience prior to going into law enforcement, I had an issue when I get up to a casualty or I'd get up to a fatality, and had PTSD from that. Did you ever have to deal with any type of post-traumatic stress, or was there anything that kind of pushed you away from the EMS side, or was it just, you had an opportunity to go outside and try something different?
Not really any PTSD or anything like that. There's a lot of people that deal with that, and then there's a lot of people that use that almost as a crutch or an advantage. And so I never want to do that.
I've seen that in some of the groups. Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I hate it. I'm not a hero. I'm just a normal person. I was paid to do a job, and I did it, and I love it. I still do it every chance I get, but never anything like that. I remember I worked at Children's Hospital in Birmingham, Alabama for several years. And, I think those are really the ones that stuck with me. Just innocent children. Most of the time with the adults and the things on the ambulance, it was their own fault. But the things that always bothered me were the innocent children that were hurt to no one's fault, but the people that brought them into this world.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I dealt with that, but no, I don't ever have anything like that. I just really wanted to try something new. The money was there. The economy was changing, and I wanted to get out of my comfort zone, travel the country. Got to do that and loved every minute of it. My wife and all of our animals before we had the farm, they traveled with us. So it was a great time.
Kidding. See, that's good, because a couple of friends of mine, Gerald and others that I worked with, they live on the road. I mean, the entire family, they have campers, homeschool the kids, and the kids are freaking geniuses. So that was great. You got to take your family out, because when I was traveling, both as a Department of Defense contractor and then going into the trades and stuff, I didn't really have anything going. I wasn't married at the time. No kids. I mean, I do have kids, but at the time I was traveling, none of that was able to go with me. So it's nice where you have that, because I've seen a lot of guys in the field break down, because being distant from the family, missing everything, birthdays, anniversaries, all that. So I'm glad you got to do that, brother.
Well, and it was, it was a transition at first. For the first few months, she didn't travel with me. It was hard, but when she was able to, it was great. She traveled with me. She was working at the job site, cleaning, doing whatever was needed, being, administrative assistant. She got into safety a little bit.
Good deal.
And loved it. And, it's a family out there on the road. That's what a lot of people don't understand.
Absolutely.
It's a huge family. I talk to almost everyone that we travel together. We talk daily, weekly, monthly. One of my other good buddies, he was a supervisor, electrician, and he went and started his own electrical company, so everybody's doing good. We talk, we visit. I go up to Michigan and hang out and ride the trails and everything with them, and all over. So we have a good time.
Now, was that up in the UP where you guys were?
No,
up
so
in
it's
Michigan?
outside of Detroit, and we were in Auburn Hills where the Pontiac Silverdome was. It's now on Amazon, but they live over in a little town called Newaygo.
Okay, I have an idea where you're talking about. Yeah, I worked out of Detroit in '95 for a year, and when I was working with another company, IMAC, I was traveling up to Battle Creek, over to Kellogg's and Post, and a couple other facilities. So, okay, good deal. Yeah, I liked Michigan. Some beautiful areas up there, and that's one of the things, you and I could experience, was when we travel, we get to see other parts. It's not, the back of our yard. And, speaking of that, your backyard right now, with my clients picking up in the Clarksville and Nashville areas, for anybody, and because I'm asking you because I'm going to try this, and for others who are listening to the show or out in that area, where would you suggest I go to eat? Now, I love spicy food, Thai food. I love hot wings. I love Gus's chicken. Not knowing if you have that, taste profile, but where would you suggest somebody that came out there to look at your backyard, look at your ass, and I'm talking about the four-legged one, and see the livestock, where would you suggest we go to eat? What's something that, the Morse family enjoys in that area?
Well, I'd probably say the Morse family kitchen, because you can't find any better food than what my wife cooks.
I'm on my way.
I
so
was
we'll
paid
pick
to
this
say
back.
that. No, there's lots of good places. If you're ever over in the Murfreesboro area, Party Fowl is a really good spicy chicken restaurant. I have the same taste, so really good spicy chicken, lots of things. There's a place over here called the Boulevard that's got, it's like a nice bar, food, and the cuisine is exquisite there for a bar.
No kidding. See, I like hole in the walls because you go to the chain things and it's like, okay, yeah, if I go to Cracker Barrel here in Newmarket, I'm going to get the same thing. So I like to, when I go out and I'm working with clients and things, I like to try something local. And I always ask the hotel management, I'll say, hey, what's good in this area? What's something that's, unique to this location? So I appreciate you giving us that information, because when I get out there, I'm going to say, hey, Dylan, meet me over here.
Absolutely. I'll be ready.
And then we'll obviously, get the family up there too.
And
so
then if anybody,
say,
if you go out down to Alabama at all, I have a personal connection to a brand new bar in Childersburg, Alabama, Barley's. My uncle opened it earlier in the year. They've got live music, karaoke, all kinds of good things. So it's a good place to check out if you're down in the middle Alabama area.
Nice. Yeah, when I was stationed down at Fort Rucker, well, they've changed the name. I've got to look it up now. But when I was stationed down at Fort Rucker in Alabama, there was some really unique places that, Vietnam veterans and stuff had opened up. And first time I ever had hot wings. So I got addicted. I mean, growing up overseas, I already liked spicy food. But I got addicted to hot wings and spicy chicken in Alabama. And you guys had some really good places down in Dothan and Daleville Enterprise area. For those that are out there, I don't know, right here to the show, Diary of Baldman 1968 at gmail.com. And if you're in that area, let us know what restaurants in Enterprise, Dothan, Daleville, that are coming up. And Dylan, say the name of that new bar again and where your uncle's established.
Barley's on 280 in Childersburg.
Barley's, 280s in Childersburg. Okay. So, yeah, when you think about Alabama, and I was referencing it, is there anything you miss about being home, or, is it close enough where you could just take a drive down, see family, see friends?
It's about 2.5 hours away. I'd say the biggest thing I miss is my grandmother's home cooking. They actually just left. They stayed a week with us, but they've been on this diet, so all the fried food and everything else was gone, so it wasn't the same.
Gotcha. So your wife's not listening right now. Who's a better cook, grandma or the wife?
My grandmother.
Okay. Everybody else, we're not editing this out of the show, so don't say shit to nobody. Okay, brother. So with that, and thinking about, coming down and visiting and things like that, let's get into about your show. Okay. So it's called the Morse Code. And what's the idea behind the Morse Code? What are you looking to bring into it? And what are some of the key topics or themes that you intend to cover?
Well, so we were sitting there. I've always been into podcasts, and my father-in-law, he had a radio show picking pigskins and politicking back in the day.
Okay.
I love messing around with sound, different things like that, and decided, hey, listen to yours. Let's start a podcast. My brother-in-law came up with a name while I was trying to think of one.
No, that's genius. When you told me about that, I thought that was just badass. It is really good. It is really good.
And so we're going to start off just talking about the things I know: safety, healthcare, fire, EMS. Got some different guests in each of those areas, and then really just kind of similar to what you do. Talk about life, what's going on in the world. Know if all the opinions are my own. They don't affect any employers, family, friends, enemies, anything like that. And
stalkers.
Stalkers, any of that kind of stuff. Just want to get out there, connect with people, grow my business, grow the network, and see what's out there. I think that's one of the best ways nowadays to connect with people is, podcasts, social media, those kind of things. You're able to connect with people all over the world. I've met lots of friends all over the country, and that's the only way I have to keep up with them. Social media.
That's a beautiful idea, dude. Yeah.
And so that's what we're looking to do. I've been working a lot of extra lately, so I've got a couple episodes that I need to get edited and start getting out there before this month is over, and so we can start rolling in.
Man, that's great. Yeah, and everything you said is absolutely true, because the 5 years I worked in Alaska remotely on Shemya Island, and if everybody's thinking about this, if you hold up your right hand and stick your thumb out, so Alaska is your 4 larger fingers, and as your thumb goes out at the very end in the Rat Islands is Shemya Island. It's 176 miles from Russia. So, internet, there's no real, there is an internet out there. I'm not going to go into certain things because of security reasons, but, it's not like what we have here in the lower 48 or if they were on the mainland. So what they'll do is somebody comes from Anchorage that's flying out to the island, downloads the shows onto their phone, takes it to the island and shares it. So where you're talking about being able to reach, former coworkers, friends, places you travel, people you're working with, this is a great way to do it, and remind them, hey, I'm thinking about you sons of bitches, no matter where you're at.
Absolutely. That's it. And that's the goal. So you've mentioned it. And if everybody, you're listening, go out and subscribe, leave some feedback. I've got our trailer episode introduction out there. The voice of Brian Schaefer from 610 KFRC out of San Diego. He lives in Alabama. He is a police officer with the Birmingham, or the BNSF, not Birmingham, the Railroad Police. And so he's out there, and lots of people know him. I was honored to be able to have him record this introduction and start working with him for some of these commercials and different things. Somebody that actually knows what they're doing besides me.
Good deal. Now, brother, speaking of that, where you're introducing him, and that was great, because some podcasts, they don't talk about people behind the scenes or people, that have helped grow them. And I try to do that. But would there be any specific guests or experts that you'd like to invite into your podcast and provide, additional insights or expertise? Or are you going to look to get, somewhat just people that friends, former coworkers, or maybe a mix?
Anybody that's interested, I don't have anything special. I'm not any better than anybody else. So it doesn't matter if it's somebody that just graduated, doesn't know anything, or in high school, or 90 years old, whatever it is. If we all have something to offer. My grandfather was a Vietnam War veteran, and he taught me from a young age that you can learn something from everyone. So anybody that wants to, send me a message, connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any of that kind of stuff, and let's do something.
Good deal. I like that. Brother. And that, that's one thing, people always have questions on it. How do I engage with the audience and encourage them to actively participate? And a lot of them, like when I get emails, it's like, Alan, are you going to do a show on this? I'd really love to be a guest, things like that. And it's like, yeah, hit me up, and for everybody listening, Dylan and I were actually trying to do this previously. But if you listen to the last show, we had some issues occur here at the house. We had things going on, a lot of travel, a lot of things with clients. And so it just, everything kept getting backed up, past the wife's last surgery, things with our mother. And so, this is great, that we're getting back into it. And when you're talking and you're thinking about what shows to listen to, think about the Morse Code. Again, non-specific show. And if you have something to get in, connect with Dylan. Look for him on LinkedIn. Look for him on Facebook. And Dylan, I like that. So one of the things, what would you say would be a long-term goal or aspiration for the podcast? Would you like it to, potentially get into a video, or are you going to do video audio? Would you like it to be like a, later on, maybe on an actual radio show?
Yeah. So just starting out small, getting the audience, and then into video. My wife and I were talking about that. She is a designer of websites, all that kind of stuff, and So she wants to set up a little area to be able to do some video podcast. She listens to Call Me Daddy, the Dumb Blonde podcast, all those good ones that do a mix.
Call Me Daddy. Yeah, I actually started listening to that. That chick is funny. She gets some crazy guests. And I can't remember Jelly Roll's wife.
Bunny, that's the Dumb Blonde podcast.
Yeah, and I was going to say that was the next one. So yeah, there's some good shows to listen to.
Yeah, so that's what we're looking into, just to connect with people, get larger, radio possibly. Get out there on everybody's on the TikTok nowadays, and see what this little country boy from Alabama can do.
And that's great because recently, Jelly Roll was doing all that stuff in Nashville and being from that area. That would be amazing if you could get him or Bunny on the show. Yeah, I'd
probably cry.
Oh, I would too. Jesus, I was watching, one of these shows. This young Hawaiian kid was playing music beautifully, and Jelly Roll was sitting there, with his mom and comforting and stuff. And he really wants to get him and manage him and stuff. So his music, and I was listening on the satellite radio for probably last 2 days, maybe the last 2 days. I just happened to be on, and I heard him on there, and I thought, well, that's odd. I didn't know he had a show on SXM. And he was on Octane, and they were just letting him take off with some of the new music that he had. So that'd be cool. I would like to see you being that close to Nashville, getting some of these premier people in there.
Absolutely. That is the goal. We'll see what happens and get it out there. You can't ever dream too big. And that was one of the things, I took a lot of that. Listened yesterday on my way to work. I sent you a message listening to Change or Die Trying, and I tell you that had a lot of really good stuff. I didn't know you were, that emotional, and you had emotions. You see you on social media and things, and just this big burly man, and there we go. But it really had a lot of good things. I shared it with several people at work that love podcasts, told them to please don't listen to it at work so we all don't get fired. But
I appreciate that.
They did love it, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Well, I appreciate that, brother. I am trying to get better. Sometimes when I'm coming up with the content, some of it is related to where somebody sent me an email, hey, can you give me more information on this? Other times, it's my start was, just to let you know, and I don't know, I'm going to ask you about it. But when I started, I had originally done Dragging Up 6.0 and had some great co-hosts. One of the things that had happened was we were having, difficulty in getting some of the guests relatable to safety, and the ones we had were astounding. We had really good downloads and things like that. But when the show ended, I was having an issue with my PTS. And I'm an introvert, so it was very hard for me to get in because most of the friends I was in the military with or back in law enforcement, they're either deceased or they're offline or something. And so I thought, well, let me get this back out and talk to my friends overseas, things like that. Just get some stuff off my chest that I just didn't talk about. When you came up with the Morse Code, what was your inspiration? Mine was to decompress and just get out issues about my low testosterone, people getting out, getting their physicals, get their shit checked out, because sometimes their depression is just that, hormones off or imbalance in things. What inspired you, for Morse Code?
Honestly, there was a lot of different things. It was one of those ways, like I said, to connect and do different things. And then I'm a big dreamer. I always want to do more. I don't ever feel like I'm doing enough. I get into that depression, get into that, I'm a failure at this and that. It was a way to get out there. My mom, growing up for a good while, was in an abusive relationship, and the guy was a fucking dick. And if I saw him on fire, I wouldn't piss on him. And that was one of the things, it was also to that was a big fuck you, because all I heard my last years, I moved out when I turned 18. I threw all my stuff out my bedroom window, packed it up. My grandmother and step grandfather came in and picked me up, and I moved.
Good
and
deal.
Never looked back. And my mom was able to get out of that. And it came with those health problems and stuff, quickly. She had some hard issues, and
You were mentioning that before she was 40.
Exactly, and she was in her young 30s, and that was in 2016, and she had open heart surgery, and she was working multiple jobs to keep up because he was spending everything on drugs, and he took her money that she had to buy her blood thinners and bought drugs with it, and she had a stroke.
Son of a bitch.
And was in the hospital. And so we were able to get her out of that, and she's doing good. And I mean, she drives, she gets on my damn nerves, everything like normal. And
good deal.
I'm blessed. She gave her life and changed her life, and got saved, goes to church, all that good stuff. And that was the inspiration. Really, is just pretty much, hey, this is what I can do. I am who I am, and nobody's going to stop me from doing what I want to do.
And
unless
Sam,
it's my wife.
I'm glad you have that. Okay, so just so you know, I was checking out OnlyFans right now. I cannot find your page. Is that going to come up? Are you going to dress up in maybe some bunker gear, throw on some, safety equipment at the same time, just do like strip teasing? Is that
I really thought about it. I tried to get my wife to let me do the dirty with just a safety vest and a hard hat, and she was like, I don't even want to see you with the lights on with clothes on. So I don't know if that's going to work out. I'd probably get paid to put my clothes back on.
Jesus, that just made me moist.
Me too.
Good
just
Lord.
Thinking about it. My dog's sitting here staring at me like, what the fuck are you talking about?
He's like, Daddy, step away from that bad man in his microphone.
Yeah, he's 11, and he's like, I've never heard this shit.
Well, brother, with you getting ready to start the Morse Code, what's going to be one way you hope to be able to balance providing, your advice and the show, and then, still getting all your work and stuff done? And what I'm asking you, and this is for the listeners, is it looking to be like a weekly show maybe, or bi-monthly or monthly? Do you have any plans right now based off of your schedule and your calendar?
I'm looking to get several episodes recorded so I can, start it off weekly and just keep going as it grows. I hope to have more people that are interested in joining. I'm not interesting enough just to sit here and talk by myself. So, want to get those people, have some back and forth. I've been looking at, different platforms to do the editing and recording. Played with a couple. I haven't really found one. I need to check this one out that you're using, and figure out which one's going to be the best so I can get all these edited and start putting them out there. It's just plan to do it. I'm a workaholic, and so just plan to get it out there. Maybe I can make enough money one day where I don't have to work.
Well, I like the idea for that. And that was going to be my next question. Are you open to sponsorship? Are you open to, companies, businesses, clients and stuff coming in and dropping money on you to, maybe give them shout outs or to promote things? Would there be any type of limitation like, I'm not going to promote, Billy's bongs or, CBD, which I have no issue with. But for anybody listening to the show, would you be open to sponsorship and support?
I would. Yeah, absolutely. Any kind. Of course, there's those morals and certain things. So, reach out to me.
Absolutely.
We're not sponsoring, the Church of Satan or any of that kind of stuff. I'm like you. I don't have any problem with CBD or any of that kind of stuff. But that gets in those tricky areas. So like I said, I have my own safety consulting company. My brother and I are actually in the process. He just graduated high school and he's wanting to get into his own business. So we're in the process of starting a home improvement construction company to help him out. And so, any companies like that, anybody that is looking, absolutely. Lots of open avenues.
Good deal. Now, I just want to give you, one of the things I recently learned, this is a shout out to Adobe. So one of the things I want you to look at, brother, they have a free AI filter that you can take your audio files and drop it into it. It clears out background noise, all kinds of shit. I mean, I just used it for the last show to see, because I use Audacity when I'm doing personal recording and, a couple other platforms. But I was just dinking around and I'd actually seen it in one of the podcast groups on Facebook. And I was like, okay, so I purposefully made a bad sound bite to see. I had ambient noise in the back. I had a dog in here just laying, scratching stuff. It stripped it.
Wow.
I mean,
I will check that out.
It was good. Yeah, and I'll send you the link. And for those that's listening, that also do podcasts, I'll put it in the show notes. Just, scroll down, or you could Google Adobe free AI filter for, deep cleaning audio. It is great. It's podcast.adobe.com/enhance. Okay, so Jaykob, I know you're busy, and I just got, 3 more questions. But before I ask the questions, brother, would you let people know, again, how to get a hold of you, if sponsors want to reach out to you, things like that? What is the best way for them to connect or get information to you?
Absolutely. So connect with me on Facebook, LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, it's Jaykob Dylan Morse. It's spelled weird. We can figure that out. It's Jaykob. It's not Canadian. I don't know what was up with my mom. She was trying to be different, and that was it. My first name is Jaykob. I go by Dylan. No one can spell it correctly. I got my last name tattooed on my arm, so I can just hold it up and show them how to spell it.
That's funny as shit. I did mine in my underwear because my wife got mad at me wearing hers. But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's what happens. I just thought that was what we were supposed to do. But no, yeah. So Facebook for sure at Dylan Morse. I also have my business Facebook page, the Safety Standard, the Morse Code podcast. My phone number, absolutely reach out to any of those, any of those avenues. I will answer, respond. If you reach out to Alan, ask for my phone number, he can give it to you. Just don't send me any butthole pics past 12 a.m. Before that, you're good to go.
I had to write that one down because I think mine was at 12:45. Okay. Yeah. So
you gotta have a boundary.
Now, one of the things top 3 questions. On what platforms do you plan on your show being on? Because, some people Spotify addicts, some people are on iTunes, some people are on Podbean or something like that. Are you going to have them on multiple platforms, or are you sticking with just one?
We started out on Spotify. Our trailer, all that good stuff is on Spotify. Make sure I'll send Alan the link if he can, he can drop it in this episode.
Absolutely.
Just to make sure it's being able to be found. And then we're going to add to Apple and probably a couple of those other ones just as people have suggestions. What do they like to listen to get it out there? And then, of course, we'll post sound bites and clips on Facebook, TikTok, those kind of things.
Okay. So for everybody listening, again, he's going to send me that. I'll put it in the show notes as you scroll down, look for that, and it'll say, find me here, find Dylan here. So, Dylan, before we get going, brother, one of the things I wanted to do, and I don't want to forget this, Micah Stockwell, my neighbor, came over, and this morning I just pulled back. I had to go to Lowe's because I'm swapping out toilets today and had to get some plumbing material. But my neighbor Micah came up, and, I loved that he gave me feedback. He listened to the last 2 shows, and he was telling me, hey, Alan, I think you're turning away from your microphone. I mean, the guy listens to podcasts, a lot of sports and stuff like that. And he gave me pointers without even knowing. He's never been in the studio. He's never been in the office. But he goes, I could tell when you were reading from paper. I could tell when you were reading from this. And it was great, great feedback. So one of the things, that I guess I wanted to ask you is when you go into it, people want to get feedback on things. People want to, give ideas and things like that. What is it that you want your guests to take away from your show? Is there anything that, when it comes up to it, are you looking to inspire, to educate and strictly communicate? Or, because like Micah was giving me the same feedback you were, but with a little bit more because, talking about that. Is there anything you want your guests to incorporate or bring to you? Are you going to take like podcast suggestions as well, just for listeners?
Absolutely. Any and all feedback is appreciated. Please, podcast ideas, suggestions. I'm really looking to, educate in the safety world. That's what I know, fire, EMS, healthcare, those kind of things. And then inspire people to, hey, go out and do what you want. You only have one life to live, like you talked about the other day in your other episode of, are you looking at the farm? Are you looking at the garden? What are you looking at? And go out and, do what you want to do. You have one life to live, and whatever it is, do it fully. That's how I try to live. And so just want to send that out there. One of the first episodes that I'm working on recording. My sister-in-law is a nurse practitioner, been doing it for a long time. She's working on getting her doctorate and her master's, and she's way smarter than I am. And we have a lot of one of my grandfathers committed suicide when I was a young teenager. We've had some other things, mental health is very important. And she is doing a huge project on mental health and how to really change the world through the University of Alabama. And so we're going to sit down and talk about these stigmas and talk about these things. And then that's one of the avenues I really want to talk about is mental health. It's huge in construction. It's huge in fire. It's huge in EMS, healthcare, military, law enforcement, all those things. But there's such a stigma behind it. You can't be a man and you can't cry. You can't talk about your feelings. You can't do this. And part of that is good to a degree. And then the other part is you have to be able to let those feelings out. You have to go to the right people. You have to be able to do that, or you're going to end up in a pine box, and your families are the ones that suffer. I remember when that happened with my grandfather, we were the ones that suffered. And so that's one of the big topics I'm going to start out with and get out there, because it is very important to me and to my whole family.
God bless you, brother. Yeah, and it is to me too. For those that have heard the show, I almost attempted suicide, and that's why I got out of law enforcement. But a lot of people, there is a stigma, just like Dylan said. They were afraid to go out, afraid to search for help, afraid to look inside and confront certain things, or because of other conditions, they just weren't strong enough to do it. Reach out to people, reach out to myself, Dylan, talk to us. There's all kinds of helplines and hotlines and all kinds of things out there, resources for everybody. And, like Dylan said, don't go to that last step, because it's not just you affecting, it's everybody that's in your shadow. Man, I'd love that about her. I'd like to ask her, because, one of the things I've seen in some of the PTS groups is where they're getting them off things like Wellbutrin and some of these other things and doing psychedelics and all certain types to help, get certain signals in the brain to stop reflecting on negative things. I can't tell you how it works. I really don't know enough about it. Damn, brother.
We had an hour-long conversation. There's a good show on Netflix about it.
Yes,
and we had a huge conversation about it. And it's one of those things that big pharma and all these things that they people hide it. They don't want to think about it. Oh, it's drugs, it's this and that. But there are lots of those alternative medicines, and she's doing a huge project to I don't remember the statistics. Can't talk today behind it, but for every person that is suffering, for every physician or mental health provider, there is thousands of people that are waiting to be seen, and before they're able to be seen, they take that next step. They end up somewhere they shouldn't be, and that's the biggest thing that she's working on changing. And really her project, I can't wait for her to get it out there and be able to talk about it on the show. And we'll have to definitely invite you, Alan, maybe do a group show and
I would love it.
Talk about it. I mean, she loves it. It is something. She's got some personal experiences that she can share if she wants to, that drove her to do this. And I mean, she's going to change the world with the way she's doing it, and it's awesome.
Good deal. And for everybody listening, the Morse family is getting ready to take us by storm. The Morse Code, look for it, listen to it, do the things you have to do. And Dylan, before we go, the last question. Are you ready, sir?
Always.
Okay. So Caitlyn Jenner asked you out to dinner. What color underwear are you going to wear, and what are you going to order?
I mean, I'm going to go for the free dinner. I'm just going to wear my regular underwear and order the most expensive thing on the menu.
Jesus Christ, I love you, man.
I mean, you can't turn down a free dinner. He didn't say anything had to happen afterward.
Yeah, absolutely. But in my mind, I'm planning it out. Jake, yeah. I was going to say, Jake, dude, Dylan Morse, Your Majesty. But Dylan, thank you for joining us, brother. Any last shout out you'd like to give to anybody before we roll this up and let you get back to the family and the farm?
No, I really appreciate you letting me join. It's been an honor, and I hope to do more of these in the future on my show, your show, together, all that good stuff. huge shout out to my wife who keeps me in line. If I don't do that, I'll probably get in trouble after. So, just huge shout out to her. She keeps me in line, keeps things going. She is the arts and the brains behind the scenes.
Well, brother, it's been my honor and privilege to have you here. And please thank your wife for the time. I know it's the weekend, and it's great when you could spend time with your family and get back to them. But I'm looking forward to promoting the show, getting you out there, spreading the love. Thank you for being here, brother, and I love you for that. And for all of our listeners, one of the things, again, as Dylan said, sometimes you're going to have to transition. Sometimes you'll make moves. Think about your family. Think about your future. Do what's right for you. Plan to do great things. Prepare when things fail. It's going to happen. Communicate your desires. Be open. Communicate when you're feeling bad. If you're feeling depressed, reach out and engage with life. Now get the fuck out of here and enjoy the rest of the day. Dylan, thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
You've been listening to The Diary of a Bald Man. How do you feel? A little dizzy? Maybe a little nauseous? That was one hell of a ride, I know. It's our passion to make you feel as uncomfortable as possible. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, rate, and review the show. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, Google Alan the Safety Guy. You'll find all the socials there. Connect with us, or else. See you next time on Diary of a Bald Man.